At the entrance of the hut, the father and son sat silently in front of a dying fire, and inside, the son's young wife, Budya, was writhing in labor pain. Every now and then, such heart-wrenching cries escaped her lips that both of them clutched their chests. It was a winter night. Nature was enveloped in silence. The whole village was lost in darkness. Gisu, it seems she won't survive. I've been running around all day. Go check on her. Madhav, if she has to die, why doesn't she die quickly? What will I do by looking? Gisu, you're so heartless. So unfaithful to the one you lived happily with for a whole year. Madhav, I can't bear to see her suffering and thrashing about. They were a family of cobblers and notorious throughout the village. Gisu would work for 1 day and then rest for 3. Madhav was so lazy that he would work for half an hour and then smoke his pipe for a full hour. That's why they couldn't find work anywhere. If they had even a handful of grain in the house, they swore they wouldn't work. When they went a few days without food, Gisu would climb a tree and break off branches, and Madhav would sell them at the market. And as long as they had that money, they would wander around aimlessly. There was no shortage of work in the village. It was a village of farmers. There were 50 jobs for a hard-working man. But these two were only called when there was no other option but to settle for half the work from 2 men. If they were saints, they wouldn't need any contentment, patience, self-control, or discipline. This was their nature. They lived a strange life. They had no possessions in their house except for a few clay pots. They lived covering their nakedness with torn rags, free from the worries of the world, drowned in debt. They were insulted, beaten, but they didn't care. They were so pitiful that people would lend them small amounts, even when there was no hope of repayment. During the pea and potato harvest, they would steal peas or potatoes from other people's fields and roast them to eat. Or they would steal a few stalks of sugarcane and chew on them at night. Gisu had spent 60 years of his life living this carefree existence, and Madhav, like a true son, was following in his father's footsteps. In fact, he was making his father even more infamous. At this moment too, they were sitting in front of the fire, roasting potatoes they had dug up from some field. Gisu's wife had passed away a long time ago. Madhav had gotten married last year. Since this woman had arrived, she had laid the foundation of order in this family, and she kept nagging these 2 shameless men. Since she had come, these 2 had become even lazier and more comfort-loving. In fact, they had even started to show some arrogance. If someone called them for work, they would shamelessly demand double the wages. That same woman was dying of labor pains today, and these 2 were just waiting for her to die so they could sleep peacefully. Gisu, go and see what her condition is. It must be a witch's curse, what else? Even the witch doctor here charges a rupee. Madhav, I'm scared to go in there. Gisu, what are you afraid of? I'm here. Madhav, then why don't you go and see? Gisu, when my wife died, I didn't leave her side for 3 days. And won't she feel shy around me? To see her exposed body today, when I've never even seen her face. She probably isn't even aware of it. If she sees me, she won't be able to flash around. Madhav, I'm thinking, what will happen if there's a child? We don't have any dried ginger, jaggery, oil, or anything. Gisu, we'll get everything, if God will. The very people who won't give us a penny now will call us tomorrow and give us rebates. I had 9 sons. There was never anything in the house, but God always helped us through somehow. In the morning, when Madhav went inside the room, he saw that his wife had passed away. Flies were buzzing around her face. Her glazed-over eyes stared upwards. Her entire body was covered in dust. The baby in her womb had died. Madhav ran to Gisu. Then both of them started wailing loudly and beating their chests. The neighbors heard the commotion and rushed over. Following old customs, they tried to console the unfortunate men, but there wasn't much time for excessive mourning. They had to worry about a shroud and firewood. Money was as scarce in their house as meat in a hawk's nest. The father and son went crying to the village landlord. He loathed the sight of them. He had beaten them with his own hands several times. For stealing, for not showing up for work after promising to. Landlord, what is it, Gisu? Why are you crying? You haven't been around lately. Seems like you don't want to stay in this village. Gisu, sir, I'm in great distress. Madhav's wife passed away last night. She suffered all night, sir. We both sat by her side. We gave her every medicine and treatment we could, but she betrayed us. Now, master, there's no one left to even give us a single piece of bread. We are ruined. Our home is destroyed. I am your servant. Who else will help us with her funeral besides you? Whatever little we had, we spent on medicines. Only with your kindness will she get a proper burial. Whose door should I go to besides yours? The landlord was merciful, but showing mercy to Gisu was like trying to dye a black blanket. He felt like telling him, "Get out of here." He never comes when called, but now that he needs something, he comes crawling and flattering. The scoundrel, the rascal. But this wasn't the time for anger or punishment. Grumbling to himself, he took out 2 rupees and threw them at Gisu. But not a single word of comfort escaped his lips. He didn't even look at him, as if he had just unburdened himself. When the landlord gave 2 rupees, how could the village merchants and moneylenders refuse? Gisu also knew how to boast about the landlord's name. Someone gave 2 annas, someone gave 4. Within an hour, Gisu had collected a decent sum of 5 rupees. They got grain from somewhere, firewood from somewhere else. And in the afternoon, Gisu and Madhav went to the market to buy a shroud. Meanwhile, people started cutting bamboo. The kind-hearted women of the village came and looked at the body, shed a couple of tears over her helplessness, and left. They both understood what the other was thinking. They wandered around the market. They went from shop to shop. They looked at all sorts of clothes, silk and cotton, but nothing seemed right. Soon it was evening. Then, as if by some divine inspiration, they found themselves in front of a bar. And as if it were pre-planned, they went inside. They stood there for a moment, unsure of what to do. Then Gisu went to the counter and said, "Gisu bartender, give us a bottle too." Then some snacks arrived, some fried fish, and they sat on the porch and began to drink peacefully. After several quick drinks, both of them were feeling good. "Gisu, what's the point of a shroud? It just burns up in the end. It doesn't go with her." "Madhav, it's just how the world works. Why else would people give priests thousands of rupees? Who knows if it helps in the afterlife? But they do it anyway." "Gisu, rich people have money to burn. What do we have?" "Madhav, but what will you tell everyone? Won't they ask where the shroud is?" "Gisu, we'll just say the money got lost. We looked everywhere, but couldn't find it. They might not believe us, but they'll give us the money again anyway." "Madhav, she was so good. We really feasted when she died. More than half the bottle was gone." Gisu ordered 2 pounds of fried bread, chutney, pickles and gizzards. There was a shop right in front of the tavern. Madhav rushed and brought all the food on 2 plates. "We spent a whole rupee and a half. We only have a little money left." The 2 of them were sitting there eating like lions tearing into their prey in the jungle. They weren't afraid of being held accountable or worried about their reputation. They had conquered those feelings a long time ago. "Gisu, if our souls are happy, won't that be a good deed?" "Madhav, it definitely will. God, you know everything. Please take her to heaven. We are both blessing her with all our hearts. We've never had a meal like this in our entire lives." "Madhav, Grandpa, won't we go there someday too?" Gisu didn't answer this innocent question. He didn't want to interrupt this happy moment by thinking about the afterlife. "Madhav, what will you say if she asks us there why we didn't give her a shroud?" "Gisu, we'll say, your head." "Madhav, she'll definitely ask, Gisu, how do you know she won't get a shroud? Do you think I'm a fool? Have I been digging ditches for 60 years for nothing? She'll get a shroud and a very good one." "Who will give it? You spent all the money." She'll ask me. "I put the pavilion in her hair." "Gisu, why don't you tell me who will give it?" "Gisu, the same people who gave it this time. But we won't get our hands on the money this time." As the darkness deepened and the stars shone bright, the tavern became quiet. Some sang, some boasted, some hugged their friends. Some offered their friends drinks. The atmosphere was intoxicating. The air was filled with excitement. Many people came here and got drunk on just a sip. The air here intoxicated them more than the alcohol. Life's burdens brought them here, and for a while they forgot whether they were alive or dead, or neither alive nor dead. And these 2, father and son, were still enjoying their drinks. All eyes were on them. How lucky they were. They had a whole bottle between them. After eating his fill, Madhav picked up the plate of leftover bread and gave it to a beggar who was standing there looking at them with hungry eyes. And for the first time in his life, he experienced the pride, joy, and happiness of giving. Gisu, take it, eat well, and bless us. The one who earned this is gone now, but your blessings will definitely reach her. Bless her with all your heart. This was hard-earned money. Madhav, she'll go to heaven, Grandpa. She'll be the queen of heaven. Gisu stood up and, as if swimming in waves of joy, said, Gisu, yes, son, she'll go to heaven. She never hurt anyone, never oppressed anyone. She fulfilled our life's greatest desire in her death. If she doesn't go to heaven, will these fat cats go, who rob the poor with both hands and bathe in the Ganges and offer water in temples to wash away their sins? This display of reverence quickly changed. Instability is a characteristic of intoxication. A wave of sadness and despair hit them. Madhav, but Grandpa, she suffered so much in life. She endured so much pain before she died. He started crying, covering his eyes with his hands. He sobbed loudly. Gisu, why are you crying, son? Be happy that she is free from this world of illusion, free from its traps. She was very lucky to break free from the bonds of worldly attachment so soon. And both of them stood up and started singing, Gisu and Madhav, oh deceiver, why do you flash your eyes? Deceiver. The drunkard's eyes were fixed on them, and the two of them sang, lost in their own world. Then they started dancing. They jumped and leaped. They fell and rolled. They made faces and acted. And finally, completely drunk, they collapsed right there.